The warning lights flashed red across every screen in Sentinel Prime's command center. Commander Vex Corthane stood frozen at his station, watching readings that should not exist. His 6 eyes blinked rapidly as he tried to understand what the quantum sensors were telling him. "Sir, I'm getting impossible velocity readings," called out Analyst Marin from across the room. Her voice carried the strain of someone trying to stay calm while watching their reality break apart. Vex's scaled hands moved across the control panel with practiced speed. The Zeltharian Empire had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. Their technology was unmatched. Their sensors could detect a single electron moving at the edge of known space. Nothing moved through their territory without being catalogued, identified, and either welcomed or destroyed. But the object on their screens defied every rule they knew. "Show me the readings again," Vex commanded. The main display filled with data streams, velocity markers that climbed beyond what any known technology could achieve. Energy signatures that appeared and vanished like ghosts. Most disturbing of all, the object seemed to phase in and out of normal space itself. "Database match?" Vex asked. "No match found," replied the ship's computer in its cold, mechanical voice. "No known civilization possesses this technology. No known physics allows this movement pattern." Senior analyst Yuki Tanaka looked up from her station in the corner. She was one of only 12 humans working in the Empire's deep space monitoring division. Her people had been conquered 60 years ago, but some had proven useful enough to keep around. "Sir, may I suggest something?" she said quietly. Vex barely glanced at her. Humans were clever enough with basic calculations, but they lacked the advanced thinking needed for real problems. "Continue monitoring. I want every detail recorded. Own plan." Yuki nodded and returned to her screens, but her dark eyes remained troubled. She had studied the movement patterns for the past hour. Something about them felt familiar, though she could not place what it was. Admiral Zorith's voice crackled through the communication system from the fleet command station 3 sectors away. "Corthane, report. What exactly are we dealing with?" "Unknown vessel, Admiral. No identification possible. Speed beyond our measurement capability. The object appears to be heading toward the core systems." A long pause filled the channel. Admiral Zorith had commanded fleets for 2 centuries. He had seen the Empire crush rebellions on 100 worlds. Nothing made him pause. "Heading?" Zorith finally asked. "Current trajectory suggests it will reach Kepler Station in approximately 18 hours. "Impossible. That distance requires 6 days at maximum fleet speed." Vex checked his readings again. The numbers had not changed. "Admiral, the object appears to bend space around itself. Our physics teams cannot explain the mechanism." Another pause. Then Zorith's voice came back, harder than before. "I'm dispatching Battle Group 7 to intercept. Continue monitoring and transmit all data to Fleet Command." The channel closed, leaving the command center in tense silence. Vex turned to address his staff. "Double all sensor sweeps. I want gravitational analysis, quantum field mapping, and deep spectrum scanning. If this thing so much as disturbs a cosmic dust particle, I want to know about it." The analysts bent over their stations with renewed focus. Only Yuki remained still, staring at the movement pattern display. Her fingers moved across her personal tablet, pulling up files from her homeworld's history archives. "Analyst Tanaka," Vex called out sharply. "Focus on your assigned tasks." "Yes, sir," she replied, but continued her research. Hours passed. The mysterious vessel continued its impossible journey toward Imperial space. It made no attempts to communicate. It ignored all hailing frequencies. Most strange of all, it seemed to be slowing down as it approached more populated systems, as if it were being careful not to cause damage. "Sir," called Analyst Marin, "the object just passed through the outer marker buoys." Vex looked at the tactical display. The outer markers were supposed to be impossible to bypass without triggering massive alarm systems. They were connected to the Empire's most advanced detection grid. Did it trigger any warnings? No, sir. The buoys show normal readings, but visual confirmation shows the object passed directly through the detection field. Absolute. Absolute. A chill ran through Vex's spine ridges. Something that could move undetected through Imperial space was a threat beyond anything they had faced. Yuki, he said, surprising himself by using the human's first name. You have been studying the movement patterns. What do you see? Yuki stood up slowly, her tablet in hand. Sir? The movements remind me of something from my world's naval history. Ancient Earth sailing patterns. Explain. Old Earth sailors used wind patterns and ocean currents to move faster than should be possible. They would use natural forces instead of fighting against them. This object appears to be using gravitational fields and space currents in a similar way. Vex's expression showed doubt. Space has no currents. Sir, with respect, space has many currents. Dark matter flows, gravitational rivers between star systems, quantum field variations. Most ships fight through them with brute force. But if someone knew how to ride them, before Vex could respond, every alarm in the station began screaming. The main display flashed with urgent warnings. Report, Vex shouted over the noise. Sir, the object just appeared on close-range sensors, Marin called out. Distance, 50,000 kilometers and closing. That's impossible. It was 6 light hours away 10 minutes ago. Confirmed, sir. The object is now visible on optical sensors. The main screen switched to a visual feed. Against the starfield hung something that took Vex's breath away. The vessel was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. Its hull seemed to flow like liquid metal, shifting between colors that had no names. It was roughly the size of an Imperial cruiser, but its shape defied description. Organic curves blended with geometric patterns that seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions. Attempting communication on all frequencies, reported the communication officer. They waited in silence. The mysterious ship hung in space, neither approaching nor retreating. It seemed to be studying them as carefully as they were studying it. Then, without warning, it vanished. Every sensor in the station went dead for exactly 3 seconds. When they came back online, the ship was gone. Long-range sensors showed nothing. It was as if it had never existed, except for one thing. A single message appeared on Yuki's personal screen, written in perfect Earth script. We remember you, daughter of the Wanderers. Vex saw her face go pale. Analyst, report. Yuki looked at her commander, then at the empty space where the impossible ship had been. Sir, I think we just met someone who has been watching humanity for a very long time. Admiral Zorith stood on the bridge of the battleship Domination, watching his fleet move into intercept formation. 37 ships of the line. The most powerful weapons the Zeltharian Empire could deploy. Each vessel carried enough firepower to reduce a planet to dust. Admiral, long-range sensors have the target, reported Captain Kelth. Still, no identification possible. Show me. The main tactical display lit up with fleet positions and sensor readings. The mysterious vessel appeared as a pulsing red dot, moving between Imperial ships like it was dancing. Every time a battleship moved to intercept, the unknown craft shifted position without seeming to accelerate. How is it moving like that? Zorith demanded. Unknown, sir. Our physics teams believe it may be manipulating local space-time. Zorith's jaw plates ground together. In his 200 years of command, nothing had ever made him feel helpless. But watching this single ship make his entire battle group look clumsy was doing exactly that. Captain Watanabe, he called to the human commander of the support vessel, Endeavor. Bring your ship alongside. I want to hear what you think of this. Captain Jin Watanabe's image appeared on the communication screen. His weathered face showed the calm that came from decades of space service. Admiral, I've been studying the movement patterns. This isn't random evasion. Explain. Sir, my grandfather was a sailor on Earth's oceans. He taught me that when you don't know the waters, you watch how the locals move. This ship isn't running from us. It's showing us something. This. Showing us what? That it could destroy us if it wanted to, but it doesn't want to. Zorith's scaled fists clenched. Impossible. No single vessel could threaten an Imperial battle group. As if responding to his words, the mysterious ship suddenly accelerated. It moved through the fleet formation like a needle through cloth, passing so close to Imperial vessels that their shields flared with proximity warnings. In less than 10 seconds, it had touched every ship in the fleet and returned to its original position. Weapons status across the fleet? Zorith asked quietly. All weapons offline, sir, came the stunned reply. Every ship reports complete weapons system failure. No permanent damage, but all offensive capabilities are temporarily neutralized. The bridge fell into shocked silence. An entire Imperial battle group had been disarmed by a single ship without any visible weapons being fired. Admiral, Captain Watanabe said carefully, I recommend we try standard first contact protocols. We already tried all standard communications. No, sir, I mean the old ones. The protocols humans developed before we had advanced technology. Zorith wanted to dismiss the idea immediately, but with his weapons offline and facing an unknown threat, he was willing to consider anything. What do you suggest? Basic mathematics. Prime numbers. Simple pictographs. Sometimes, the most advanced civilizations remember the simple approaches. Do it. On the Endeavor, Captain Watanabe moved to his communication station. He began transmitting a sequence of prime numbers. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. Then simple mathematical concepts. 1 plus 1 equals 2. 2 plus 2 equals 4. For long minutes, nothing happened. Then, suddenly, the mysterious vessel responded. The transmission that came back was unlike anything they had ever received. Complex mathematical equations that described galactic structure. Star charts showing regions of space the Empire had never explored. Most shocking of all, detailed biological and technological data about hundreds of species the Empire had never encountered. Captain Watanabe, Zorith said slowly, ask it about humanity. Watanabe transmitted a simple pictograph showing a human figure and a question mark. The response nearly knocked him from his chair. Detailed files about human colonies scattered across the galaxy. Information about human exploration ships that had traveled farther than any Imperial vessel. Technical specifications for human technologies that the Empire had never seen. Admiral, Watanabe said, his voice shaking slightly. According to this data, there are human settlements in regions we've never even detected. And they're not alone. Impossible. Humans are a conquered species with limited space travel capability. Sir, with respect. I think that's what the Empire was allowed to believe. Before Zorith could respond, the mysterious vessel transmitted again. This time the message was in perfect Imperial script. Request permission to approach Imperial capital. Diplomatic mission from the Nomad Alliance. Humanity vouches for peaceful intentions. Nomad Alliance? Zorith repeated. Captain Kelth. Do we have any records of this organization? No, sir. No records, anywhere, in Imperial databases. Admiral, Watanabe said quietly, I think we're about to discover that the galaxy is much larger than we thought. And humanity has been busy while the Empire was focused on conquest. The mysterious vessel hung in space, waiting for a response. Around it, 37 of the Empire's finest warships sat helpless, their weapons still offline. Send a message to Imperial Command, Zorith ordered. Tell them we have a situation that requires the Emperor's immediate attention. What should I tell them about the ship? Zorith looked at the tactical display, where the impossible vessel waited with alien patience. Tell them that everything we thought we knew about the galaxy was wrong. On the communication channel, Captain Watanabe cleared his throat. Admiral, There's something else. The ship is transmitting a personal message. To whom? To any humans in the Imperial fleet. It's an invitation to join them for what they're calling the real conversation. Meaning? Sir, I think humanity has been invited to help negotiate the Empire's future. Zorath felt the weight of command settle on his shoulders like a heavy cloak. For 3,000 years, the Empire had expanded through superior technology and overwhelming force. They had encountered hundreds of species and crushed or absorbed them all. Now, for the first time, they were face to face with something that made them look primitive. And somehow, the species they thought they had conquered was connected to it. Set course for the capital, he ordered. And Captain Watanabe? Prepare a detailed report on every human under Imperial command. I have a feeling the Emperor is going to want to speak with them personally. End quote. The mysterious vessel seemed to sense their decision. It moved into formation with the Imperial fleet, not as a prisoner, but as an escort. As they began the journey toward the Empire's heart, Zorath couldn't shake the feeling that they were no longer the most powerful force in their own space. The Empire was about to learn what the rest of the galaxy already knew. In the vast darkness between stars, humanity had become something far more dangerous than the Empire had ever imagined. They had become explorers, diplomats, and bridge builders in a galactic community that made the Empire look like a small, isolated kingdom. And now that community had come calling. The emergency council chamber on Zentros had never seen tension like this. Emperor Valdris III sat on his crystal throne, watching the holographic displays that showed the impossible ship now orbiting his capital world. Around the semicircular chamber, the Empire's most powerful leaders whispered among themselves with barely controlled fear. How many ships does this alliance claim to have? The Emperor asked. Senior advisor Yuki Tanaka stood at the center of the chamber, still amazed at how quickly she had been promoted from monitoring station analyst to Imperial diplomatic consultant. Your Majesty, they haven't given exact numbers, but their star charts show active settlements in over 3,000 systems we've never detected. Impossible, declared Defense Minister Corvin. Our deep space scanners would have found such civilizations. Dr. Kenji Nakamura, the Empire's chief xenobiologist, and one of only 5 humans on the Imperial Research Council, stepped forward. Minister, with respect, their technology suggests they could hide entire star systems if they wanted to. The Emperor's forearms gestured for silence. Tell me again what this creature told us. Creature, tell me again. Yuki activated her datapad and read carefully. The pilot identified herself as Zara of the Crystalline Reaches. She represents what she calls the Nomad Alliance, a confederation of species dedicated to exploration rather than conquest. She claims the Alliance has been watching Imperial expansion for centuries. And their complaint? They consider the Empire's territorial expansion to be a threat to free civilizations. They want the Empire to choose between evolution and isolation. Minister Corvin's scales flared with anger. Threats against the Empire will not be tolerated. Sir, Yuki said carefully, I don't think she was making a threat. I think she was offering a choice. Explain. Dr. Nakamura moved to the holographic display and activated a star map. Your Majesty, according to their data, the Empire controls roughly 4% of inhabited galactic space. The Nomad Alliance represents civilizations spread across 37% of the galaxy. The chamber fell silent. For 3,000 years, Imperial leaders had believed they were the dominant force in the galaxy. The idea that they were actually a small regional power was impossible to accept. Their ship technology? The Emperor asked quietly. Beyond our current understanding, admitted Chief Engineer Vorth. They appear to use controlled gravity fields for propulsion, allowing them to manipulate space-time itself. Their power source generates more energy than our largest stations without any detectable fuel consumption. And humanity's role in this alliance? Yuki glanced at Dr. Nakamura before answering. Your Majesty, according to their records, humanity is one of the founding species of the Nomad Alliance. Human exploration vessels have mapped more unknown space than any other species. They describe humans as natural diplomats and bridge builders between different civilizations. Emperor Valdris leaned forward on his throne. Are you telling me that the species we conquered 60 years ago is actually a galactic power? Sir, I think the truth is more complex. The humans the Empire encountered were just one small group from Earth. But while the Empire was conquering Earth, other human ships were exploring the far reaches of space and building relationships with alien civilizations. Why didn't these other humans help defend Earth? Dr. Nakamura cleared his throat. Your Majesty, our historical records may not be complete. It's possible the conquest of Earth was allowed to happen for larger strategic reasons. The Emperor's eyes narrowed dangerously. Explain that statement. Sir, the Alliance pilot mentioned that humanity's greatest skill is understanding different perspectives. Having humans inside the Empire may have been valuable for learning Imperial methods and motivations. You're suggesting humans have been spying on us for 60 years? I'm suggesting humans have been learning about us, just as the Empire studied conquered species. Minister Corvan slammed his fist on his chair arm. This is intolerable. No matter how advanced this alliance claims to be, we cannot allow threats to Imperial sovereignty. Minister, Yuki said quietly, may I share what the pilot told me privately? The Emperor gestured for her to continue. She said the Alliance doesn't want to conquer or destroy the Empire. They want to invite the Empire to join something larger. But first, the Empire needs to prove it can grow beyond conquest and control. And if we refuse? Not destruction, sir. Isolation. The Alliance would ensure that Imperial expansion stops at current borders. No new worlds, no new resources, no access to Alliance trade or technology. The chamber buzzed with concerned whispers. The Empire's economy depended on continued expansion and resource acquisition. Being trapped within current borders would eventually lead to economic and social collapse. What exactly do they want us to do? The Emperor asked. Dr. Nakamura activated another holographic display. Your Majesty, they're offering a trial period. 6 months where the Empire shifts from conquest-based expansion to cooperation-based growth. Instead of conquering new worlds, we would be introduced to species willing to trade knowledge and resources. Under Alliance supervision? Under Alliance guidance, with humans serving as cultural interpreters. And if this trial period succeeds? Full membership in the Nomad Alliance, access to technologies we can barely imagine, participation in exploration projects spanning the entire galaxy. Emperor Valdris stood and walked to the great window overlooking his capital city. Below, millions of Imperial citizens went about their daily lives, unaware that their entire understanding of the galaxy had just been shattered. Bring me Admiral Zorith and Captain Watanabe, he ordered. I want to speak with humans who have served the Empire loyally. Your Majesty, Yuki said carefully, the Alliance pilot has requested permission to address the Imperial Council directly. Absolutely not. No alien creature addresses the throne of the Empire. Sir, she's not asking to address you. She's asking to address us, the humans in Imperial service. She says we need to understand our real heritage before we can help guide the Empire's decision. The Emperor turned back to face the chamber. For the first time in his reign, he felt the weight of a decision that could determine not just his Empire's future, but its very survival. Very well, he said finally. Arrange a private meeting between this creature and all humans in Imperial service, but under heavy security. Thank you, Your Majesty. And Analyst Tanaka? Yes, sir? After this meeting, I want your honest assessment. Not as an Imperial citizen, but as a human being. Can we trust this alliance? Yuki looked around the chamber at the faces of Imperial leaders who had ruled the galaxy through fear and force for 3,000 years. Then she thought about the impossible ship orbiting overhead and the pilot who had crossed impossible distances just to offer the Empire a chance to be something greater. Your Majesty, I think the real question is whether they can trust us. The Emperor nodded slowly. Indeed. Begin the arrangements, and pray to whatever gods watch over us that we make the right choice. Outside the palace windows, the alien vessel hung in the sky like a jewel, beautiful and patient, waiting for an empire to decide whether it wanted to remain a conqueror or become an explorer. The meeting took place on a neutral space station at the edge of Imperial territory. Emperor Valdris III arrived with a fleet of 12 ships, while the Nomad Alliance was represented by 3 vessels unlike anything in Imperial records. Yuki Tanaka floated in the station's zero-gravity conference chamber, watching Emperor Valdris try to understand what he was seeing. Across the room, Fleet Admiral Park Minjun wore the blue uniform of the Human Space Exploration Corps, an organization the Empire had never known existed. Admiral Park, the Emperor said carefully, explain to me how humanity conquered 47 star systems without our knowledge. Admiral Park smiled gently. Your Majesty, humans didn't conquer anything. We explored, we met other species, and we asked if we could stay. When they said yes, we built communities together. Impossible. Expansion requires military force. Sir, that's one method, but there are others. The conference chamber's main display activated, showing a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. Imperial space appeared as a cluster of red dots near the edge. Alliance space spread across the display like a vast web of interconnected points. This is the Nomad Alliance, said Zara, the crystalline spider-like pilot who had first approached Imperial forces. Her translated voice carried the sound of wind chimes. 637 species, 11,000 inhabited systems, working together by choice rather than force. How is that possible? Asked Dr. Nakamura. Because we learned something the Empire has not, Admiral Park replied. The universe is vast enough for everyone to find what they need without taking it from others. Emperor Valdris leaned forward in his chair. But surely there are conflicts, resources, disputes, territorial disagreements. Of course, Zara replied. But we resolve them through negotiation and compromise rather than conquest. And if negotiation fails, then we find another solution. Human diplomats are particularly skilled at this. They have a gift for seeing possibilities that other species miss. Close. For order. I mean now. The Emperor turned to Yuki. Is this true? Chi. Your Majesty, humans have a saying. When you can't go through something, go around it. We tend to find creative solutions, instead of using force. Show me, the Emperor demanded. Admiral Park nodded to one of his aides, who activated a holographic display showing a star system with 2 inhabited planets. This is the Kepler 442 system, Park explained. 2 species live there. The Vorthok, who are silicon-based and prefer high-temperature environments, and the Etherians, who are gas-based and need cold, low-pressure atmospheres. Obviously incompatible, observed Minister Corvin. That's what both species thought, Park continued. They had been fighting over the system for 300 years when human explorers arrived. And you chose one side over the other? No, sir. We suggested they share the system. The Vorthok took the inner planet, which was too hot for the Etherians anyway. The Etherians took the outer planet, which was too cold for the Vorthok. Both species got what they actually needed, instead of fighting over what they thought they wanted. A simple solution, the Emperor admitted. Human solutions usually are, Zara added. Your species has an unusual ability to see past immediate conflicts to underlying needs. The Emperor stood and walked to the viewing port, looking out at the Alliance ships. Each one was different, reflecting the unique aesthetics of its builders. But they moved together, in perfect formation. What exactly are you asking of the Empire? He said, finally. A trial period, Admiral Park replied. 6 months, where the Empire tries cooperation instead of conquest. We'll introduce you to species interested in trade partnerships. You can learn how alliance methods work. And if we refuse? Zara's crystalline body shifted colors, a sign of careful thought. Then the alliance will ensure imperial expansion ends at your current borders. Not through war, but through better alternatives. Explain. Any species you approach for conquest will be offered alliance membership instead. With access to alliance technology and trade, why would they choose imperial subjugation? The brutal logic was clear. The empire's expansion had always depended on being the most advanced option available to primitive species. If the alliance could offer better alternatives, imperial growth would stop without a single shot being fired. You would isolate us, the emperor said. We would let you isolate yourselves, Park corrected. The choice is always yours. Minister Korvan spoke up angrily. This is blackmail. Minister, Yuki said quietly, it's a job offer. The chamber fell silent. The emperor returned to his seat and studied the humans in the room. Yuki, who had served the empire loyally for 20 years. Dr. Nakamura, whose research had advanced imperial science. Even Captain Watanabe, who had commanded imperial vessels with honor. Tell me honestly, the emperor said to them. Do you believe this alliance can be trusted? Dr. Nakamura answered first. Your Majesty, they could have destroyed our fleet at Kepler Station. Instead, they disabled our weapons temporarily and asked to talk. That suggests good faith. And you, Analyst Tanaka? Yuki chose her words carefully. Sir, the Alliance has had 60 years to attack the Empire if they wanted to. Instead, they sent a diplomatic mission. They're offering partnership, not demanding surrender. The Emperor turned to Admiral Park. And what do you gain from this? Why help a conquering empire join your alliance? Because, Your Majesty, we believe people can change. The Empire has built impressive things. Your organizational skills, your engineering capabilities, your ability to coordinate vast projects. The Alliance could benefit from those talents. But only if we abandon conquest? Only if you choose to grow beyond conquest. The galaxy is vast, Your Majesty. There are entire regions waiting to be explored, new species waiting to be met, technologies waiting to be discovered. Conquest limits you to what already exists. Cooperation opens up possibilities you haven't imagined. Emperor Valdris looked around the chamber one more time. His advisors waited for his decision. The Alliance representatives sat patiently, and in the viewing port, the impossible ships of the Nomad Alliance hung against the stars like promises of a future the Empire had never considered. 6 months, he said finally. We will try your methods for 6 months. But if this fails, if the Empire suffers because of this experiment, we will return to our traditional ways. Understood, Your Majesty, Admiral Park replied. But I think you'll be surprised by what cooperation can accomplish. We shall see, the Emperor said. Analyst Tanaka, you will serve as primary liaison between the Empire and Alliance. I trust you to protect Imperial interests. Yes, Your Majesty. As the meeting ended and the delegations prepared to return to their ships, Yuki found herself standing next to Admiral Park. Are you sure about this? She asked quietly. The Empire has been conquering species for 3,000 years. That's not easy to change. Park smiled. Yuki, 60 years ago humans were fighting each other with primitive weapons on a single world. Today, we're helping negotiate peace between galactic civilizations. If we can change that much, anyone can. Looking out at the Alliance ships preparing for the journey back to Empire space, Yuki wondered if he was right. In 6 months, they would all find out whether 3,000 years of conquest could be transformed into something better, or whether some things were too powerful to change. 1 year later, Admiral Yuki Tanaka stood on the observation deck of the exploration vessel New Horizon, watching the launch of the most ambitious mission in galactic history. Around her, Beings from dozens of species worked together, preparing for the journey toward the galaxy's unexplored center. "Hard to believe how much has changed," said Captain Park Min-jun, joining her at the viewing port. Through the transparent aluminum, they could see the transformation of what had once been Imperial Fleet Command. Zeltharian engineers worked alongside Etherian energy specialists and human navigators. Ships from 100 different species filled the orbital shipyards, being refitted with hybrid technologies that combined the best innovations from across the Alliance. Emperor Valdris was skeptical until the third month, Yuki remembered. "I thought we were going to lose him when the Corinth rebels surrendered without a fight." Park laughed. He couldn't understand why they would give up when the Alliance offered them education and trade instead of conquest and slavery. The Corinth situation had been the turning point. For 6 months, Imperial forces had been trying to crush a rebellion on a resource-rich world. When Alliance mediators offered the rebels full membership in the galactic community, the fighting stopped overnight. The Corinth got their freedom. The Alliance gained new members with unique mining technologies, and the Empire learned that sometimes the best way to get what you want is to help others get what they need. "Admiral Tanaka, we're ready for the departure ceremony," announced Dr. Kenji Nakamura over the communication system. He now served as the mission's chief scientific coordinator, overseeing research teams from 40 different species. The main assembly hall was packed with beings Yuki still found amazing to see together. Emperor Valdris III sat next to Alliance coordinator Chen Wei-ming, both wearing the simple blue uniforms of the Joint Exploration Service. The sight of an Imperial Emperor wearing anything other than his ceremonial robes would have been unthinkable 2 years ago. "Citizens of the Alliance," Emperor Valdris began. And Yuki noted how naturally he now used that title. "Today, we begin the greatest exploration mission in galactic history. The core regions have never been fully mapped. We don't know what we'll find there, but we know we'll face it together." The audience erupted in cheers and harmonious sounds from a dozen different species. The transformation still amazed Yuki. The Empire hadn't been destroyed or conquered. It had evolved. The rigid hierarchy remained, but now it served exploration and cooperation instead of conquest and control. "The mission fleet includes vessels from every member species," continued Alliance Coordinator Chen. "Zeltharian engineering, Etherian energy systems, crystalline navigation, and human diplomatic protocols. We are stronger together than any of us could be alone." As the speeches concluded, Yuki made her way to the flagship's bridge. The New Horizon was a marvel of cooperative engineering. Its hull combined Zeltharian durability with Etherian energy efficiency. Its computers used crystalline quantum processing enhanced by human intuitive interface design. "All ships report ready," announced Captain Watanabe from the navigation station. He had volunteered to serve as the fleet's chief navigator, bringing decades of experience in both Imperial and Alliance space. "Zara, how do the space currents look?" Yuki asked. The crystalline pilot's body shifted to a pleased blue color. "Excellent, Admiral. The gravitational streams will carry us toward the core regions in half the time traditional propulsion would require." "All stations ready?" Confirmations came from around the bridge. Zeltharian engineering, human navigation, Etherian power systems, and a dozen other species working in perfect harmony. "Take us out, Captain." The New Horizon and her escort fleet began their journey toward the unknown. As they accelerated away from the transformed Imperial space, Yuki thought about the conversation that had started everything. A mysterious ship appearing out of nowhere, moving too fast to track, belonging to no known civilization. "Admiral," said Communications Officer Reth, a young Zeltharian who had grown up during the transition, "we're receiving a message from Sentinel Prime." "Put it through." Commander Vex Corthane appeared on the main screen. The old monitoring station had been converted into an Alliance early warning system, watching for new species entering known space. "Admiral, we've detected 3 unknown vessels approaching from the galactic rim. No identification possible. Speed beyond our measurement capability." Yuki smiled. What's your assessment, Commander? Sir, based on movement patterns and approach vectors, I believe we're about to meet another civilization that's been watching us develop. Recommendations? Send Captain Watanabe with a small diplomatic team. If these newcomers are anything like the first ones, human contact protocols will be our best option. Approved. And, Commander? This time, let's assume they're friends, until proven otherwise. Understood, Admiral. As the communication ended, Yuki realized how much the Empire's thinking had changed. A year ago, unknown ships would have triggered massive military response. Now they sent diplomats first and asked questions second. Admiral, Captain Park said quietly, do you ever wonder what would have happened if the Empire had refused the Alliance offer? Sometimes. But I think we would have eventually reached the same place, just more slowly. Humanity has a way of spreading cooperation wherever we go, even to 3,000-year-old military empires, especially to them. The more rigid something is, the more it benefits from learning how to bend. The fleet continued its journey toward the galactic center, leaving behind a transformed civilization that had learned to reach for the stars through cooperation instead of conquest. Behind them, Zeltharian worlds experimented with democracy while maintaining their efficient organization. Alliance trade ships brought new technologies and ideas to Imperial colonies. And throughout former Imperial space, humans served as bridges between old ways and new possibilities. Message coming in from Alliance Command, reported the communications officer. Put it through. Admiral Park's image appeared on screen from his flagship in the outer regions. Yuki, we've made contact with the new arrivals. They call themselves the Deep Watchers. They've been observing galactic development for millennia. And they're impressed by the Imperial transformation. They want to know if the Alliance would be interested in exploring the spaces between galaxies. Yuki looked around the bridge at her diverse crew, then out at the fleet of ships carrying explorers from across the known galaxy toward whatever waited in the unexplored core. Tell them we'll consider it, she said, right after we finish mapping our own neighborhood. Understood. You've helped create something amazing here. As the transmission ended, Yuki settled back in her command chair. Outside the viewing ports, stars wheeled past, as the fleet rode gravitational currents toward the unknown. The empire that had once conquered through fear, now explored through hope. Humanity had found its place not as rulers, but as the species that helped everyone else find their place too. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders waiting to be discovered, and species waiting to be befriended. And for the first time in 3,000 years, the Empire was ready to meet them as partners rather than conquerors. The age of empire was over.